Hi, I'm going to be making some sort boxes, and I'm going to use Alexander Chappelle's fantastic design. But I need to modify it a bit because they need to fit in a very specific place in my workshop. Anyway, these are the kind of things that I'm talking about. I don't know if you can see it. Yes, you can. Yeah, sort boxes for all my wood screws and nuts and bolts and all that kind of stuff. Making them from wood, printed plastic and so forth. But I'm also going to be making a few parts using casting. So I'm going to make a mold and cast them. And I'll show you where they need to be installed because, as I said, it's tight and very specific. Let's get cracking. Okay, here we go. I'm making sort boxes. I'm using the design that Alexander Chappelle did, but they need to be specific size because of this place I'm going to store them. I'll show you. But I need to make a lot. And there's a couple of parts that I wanted to change. I'm going to make a leather strap instead of a handle. And for that, I'm going to use these blocks to clamp them. But of course, I need to make 2 per box, and I'm thinking of making something like 8 boxes, so that's 16. I can print them all, sure. But I was thinking I'll make a mold out of silicone and cast them using polyurethane. That gives me some more experience in casting as well. So I was thinking of making a mold like this, using a strip because I want the cutout for the thing, of course. So that's why I'm using a strip. So then make a little box around this, fill it with silicone, and presto, I've got a mold. Okay, so now we take the parts and glue them onto the base plate of the mold with some molten wax. I didn't make the wax hot enough because it solidifies the moment it touches the part. And of course it's not hot enough because there's a big blob of unmolted wax still in the tin, so it never would be hot enough. Anyway, I'll speed this up a bit, and my apologies for my big head in advance. There you go. And once both parts are glued down, I'll let it harden enough a bit, clean up the extra wax, and then start with making the sides of the mold with plexiglass using hot melt glue. With plexiglass, I find it's easier to use hot melt glue. With cardboard and so forth, it quite often is better to use wax. But I don't have the right sticky wax, so anyway. I started the first part wrong, of course. I always do that. But it doesn't matter. I'll catch it in time. You'll see me do it. Yeah, here we go. Fix it. With the hot melt gun, I take the nozzle off because it's easy to get into the small sides. Do the tops here and there, and here we are. We have a finished mold. The sound quality was so bad, so I recorded it with a voiceover. I'm using Mold Max 30. That's 1:10 ratio. I like to put the base of hardener in the weighing scale first, in the cup first. That helps with mixing later on. Now I'm ripping open the tub for the silicone. It's a bit old silicone. It's very stiff and thick, and also the temperature, of course, at the moment in winter in Cyprus is pretty low. But now I did the math and figure out how much additional hardener to add, mix, scrape the sides and the bottom properly. I think I made just enough if this was going to be a production mold for stuff that needs to be seen. One, I would have vacuum pulled it, but two, I would have added some more silicone, because this is just about covering the top of the parts. Silicone is hardened out. It bled a little bit, not too much. So let's take it apart and see what happens. I didn't know until recently, but methylated spirits will loosen hot melt. So this should work. To allow me to disassemble this mold. Of course, I used way too much hot glue. I always do. Almost amazing how well that works. I love it when stuff just does what it's supposed to do. Let's trim it off first, shall we? It's still stuck. Normally I would have used a new scalpel blade for this, but I don't have any left. And because of the lockdown, all the shops are closed. So I can't go and get a fresh scalpel blade. This is not really necessary, it just makes the mold nice and tidy. Taking the mold off the parts was a little bit of a problem, because the screw holes that go through the part, and they kind of stuck in there. So I had to prise the plastic strip, the white plastic strip off, and then very carefully push the silicone through the screw holes. I'm using smooth cast because I like the stuff. And it's equal parts. I've calculated this out, it's 10 cubic centimeters. It's 1:1 by volume. And I'm using the light of the door to see exactly where I am so I can keep them similar. You know what I forgot to do, didn't you? Again. I keep doing that. My gloves. I love these paper cups because, one, they don't react to the plastic, and two, they're fantastic for pouring these kind of shapes. Okay. Clearly my worktop is not level. I thought it was. Okay. Now we wait for that to harden. Let's have a look. I put it on a plate with a scalpel underneath to keep it spirit level. This is always the moment. Oh, look at that, how easy that comes loose. Brilliant, I love it. The holes come out nicely. And that needs a little bit more force. Looks okay. You can even see all the print lines still in there. This is the area where the boxes will go. it's pretty tight. Even getting these shelves in is pretty tight. I thought I'd put one shelf in first and then the second shelf, but that would not be able to squeeze in there. So I'm putting the two shelves in first and then mounting in the right height. But you can see how tight it is. The columns are even too close together to put the shelf flat. So I had to loosen the screws on the column just to be able to put the shelves in flat. Then it was quite a challenge to get them at the right height because the holes in the back are not, well, you can't see them, of course. So anyway, managed to get to the two shelves in there first, and it's now a matter of putting the screws in.
Because these are the screws. They're nice and long, but I think I can just squeeze them in between the column and the wall, because I can move the whole column, the whole frame forward a little bit. Let's try that first. Okay.
Now the screws just managed to fit in. I could pull the whole thing forward and push the screws into the holes that are already put in the column and the back. That helped a lot. Oh shit, one screw too few. How do you say that? I need one more screw. Yeah, there we go. The fact that the columns were so tight actually helped with putting the shelf in place, because basically I could just hammer the shelf into the right position, measure it out, and then put all the screws in without having to hold the shelf at the right height. So that helped, and here we have all the shelves in there.
Okay. Finished. You can see why I need a handle. This will work for now, but so that's basically the idea. And there's going to be a box for springs and a box for nuts and bolts. M3, M5, M6. More boxes there. I'll probably put some more boxes here and make boxes there. It looks like that's a wrap. Boxes are done, and now we'll see how it works in practice. Okay, well, lessons learned. 1. Use the original design by Alexander Chabel because it's much better, it fits better, it works better. I just did it too fast and too quick. 2. Casting the parts is fun, but 3D printing them is cheaper, faster, and much more useful. 3. I love the way the boxes fit in the space I have, and it's going to generate a lot more space for me, because now I can remove all the old drawers that I have and clear up that space and get it much nicer. 4. It was fun. I measured a little bit too accurately, or my tolerances were too fine. That's the problem. With the nimble, I'm always working in 1/10 of a millimeter, or even 1/2 a millimeter is large. And here I needed to have 2-3 millimeters space, and I didn't. So I'm being too finicky. That's another lesson learned for me. 5. I enjoyed working with wood again. And that's all it is. It's just fun making stuff again with wood. So I'll be doing a little bit more of that as well. That's it. See you next time.